Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be all about foundation and the basics of foundation and how to pick out foundation, how to figure out what skin tone you have and skin type you have, and what tools to use to put on your foundation, what you should do before you put on foundation. I really just want to cover Foundation 101 today, so I'm just going to jump right into it. So before I get into it, I just want to say that I am not an expert on skin. I am not an expert on makeup. I do makeup as a hobby, and I have learned everything that I know through watching YouTube videos, through doing my own research, trial and error. I've just been doing my makeup for so long at this point, and I've been watching YouTube, and I've been, into makeup for so long that these are just things that I've learned along the way. So just, remember to take everything that I say with a grain of salt, and the most important thing is just to test things out for yourself and to see, what you like and what works for you and what works for your skin type. And just because you might have a certain type of skin doesn't mean that a certain type of product will work for you. But generally speaking, these are the things that I would say are the most important things to know when it comes to foundation and your skin tone and your skin type. So it's just important to remember that we all have different preferences and different likes and dislikes. And so I'm just gonna throw that out there before we even get into it. So here we go. I think the very first thing that you should do is figure out what skin type you have. Once you figure out your skin type, then you really have a good idea of what types of products that you want to be looking for in the store. So you can either have oily skin, you can have dry skin, or you can have combination skin. And combination skin is going to be a combination of dry and oily skin. And I think I have combination skin. And I say I think because I feel like I'm still trying to figure out my skin. I feel like my skin is just a confusing thing that just wants to do whatever it wants to do whenever it wants to do it, and sometimes it's dry and sometimes it's not, and it's just a trial and error process for me. But I'd say overall my skin tends to be on the dry side. So when I look for products, I like to look for products that say the words hydrating on them or luminizing, because I know that those are going to be moisturizing and hydrating for my skin, and that's going to make my skin look healthy and give it a glow. So whereas on the other hand, if you have oily skin, you're going to want to look for products that say matte on them. And matte just means matte. It's going to make your face not oily, not shiny. It's going to neutralize those oils on your skin. It's going to help your skin stay non-oily throughout the day. So after you figured out your skin type, you want to figure out your skin tone. And skin tone means like the undertone to your skin. So there's going to be cool tones, warm tones, and neutral. And cool tones means that your skin tends to pull towards the pink side. And when you look at your skin, it has a pink undertone to it. Warm skin tones tend to pull towards the yellow side, and when you look at your skin, it tends to look a little yellow. And neutral is going to be neither pink nor yellow. It's going to be somewhere kind of in the middle. So that's going to be really important for going to pick out a foundation. Because when you go to the store and you look on the shelf, there's so many different shades and there's so many different kinds, and you think, okay, half these have to work for me, or how do I know which ones do and which ones don't? So in my opinion, I think that the easiest way to find your skin tone is just to look at your wrist, because your wrist is going to be the part of your body that sees the least amount of sun. So this is going to be the most true to your actual skin tone. So you can tell that my wrist is going to be slightly different than my face, just because I have some redness and some splotchiness on my face, but my wrist is going to be what my skin tone truly is. And so if you're at the store and you are able to swatch a foundation, I would recommend putting it onto your wrist and blending it out, and seeing if it blends right into your skin, or if you can see the foundation on your wrist, then you know it's too dark for you. So there are other ways to figure out what skin tone you have, and another really simple one is using gold and silver jewelry. If you wear a lot of silver jewelry and you think that looks better on you, then you probably have a cool skin tone. And if you wear a lot of gold jewelry and gold jewelry looks better on you, then you probably have a warm skin tone. And if you wear either one and it doesn't really matter, then you're probably neutral. So after you figured out your skin type and after you figured out your skin tone, that should be a good base for you to be able to go and pick out a foundation and pick out the type of foundation that you feel is going to work best for your skin. And of course, it's always best just to test out the foundation for a few days and see how you like it and how it performs on your skin. And if you bring it home and you hate it, take it back and get another one until you really find the one that works for you. But before you even put foundation on your face, the most important thing you're going to want to do after washing your face and moisturizing it is to put on a primer. And a primer before a foundation is going to really help the foundation stay on your skin longer. It's going to make your foundation last all day, and it's going to just really prep your skin for that foundation. Primer really just adds like a buffer layer between the natural oils of your skin and your foundation. If you don't put a primer on before a foundation, then the natural oils of your skin can kind of creep and seep to the surface and break up your foundation, and then your foundation is just going to fall off your face, and then that's no fun. So, in my opinion, primer is going to be like one of the most important steps for you before you put on foundation. And now that we know our skin type, we know what kind of primer that we want to buy at the store. So for me, I tend to go for primers that say hydrating or luminizing because I like to look a little bit dewy, and my skin tends to be a little bit dry, so when I put a foundation on, it just kind of makes my skin look dull and not vibrant. So I like to use luminizing primers, moisturizing primers. So I've actually already primed my face, and I used my Wet n Wild Photo Focus Dewy Primer right here, and you can probably tell my face looks very shiny, but I like that. So okay, so now that we've determined our skin type and we've determined our skin tone, we went and bought a primer that works for our skin type, and we bought a foundation that works for our skin tone. So then before we put the foundation on our face, we want to figure out what tool do we want to do that with. So we can either use a brush or we can use a sponge. And in my opinion, a sponge is going to be my absolute favorite way to apply foundation ever, and I don't think that's ever going to change. I used to use brushes, but once I discovered the sponges, I really have never gone back. And I just spoke about this brush that I got in a recent video, and I do love this brush, and this brush works great, but there's just nothing, in my opinion, that beats putting on foundation than a sponge. This is a Real Techniques sponge. This is like $6 at the store, and I've used beauty blenders, and beauty blenders are amazing, and I loved mine, but these are just so much more affordable, and in my opinion they work just as well. So I would recommend trying this out first, just because this is a really great affordable option, and then you can see how you like it or not. And I'm actually going to be using two different types of foundation. One is going to be a matte foundation, and the other is going to be a dewy foundation, and one of them is my skin tone and one of them is not my skin tone, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to notice the difference between the one that like matches my face and the one that doesn't. So I'm going to start off with the foundation that does match my skin tone. So this is going to be my number 7 Beautifully Matte Foundation, and this is the foundation that I wear all the time. So I'm just going to put a pump of this on my hand, and I'm going to put this foundation on this side of my face. So I really quickly just wanted to switch to a voiceover just so that I can explain why I say that matte foundation is one of my favorite foundations that I use, even though I was saying that I have dry skin and that my skin tends to be on the dry side, and that matte foundations typically don't work well with dry skin. But this is just another example of how I was saying that you just never know what products might actually work for your skin. And yes, this is a matte foundation, and yes, sometimes it does make my skin look a little bit dry, but with the right primer underneath, it actually can look just fine, and I love that it lasts throughout the day. Matte foundations tend to last throughout the day because, like I was saying earlier, my skin also is a little bit of a combination, and so I just, I get oily throughout the day, and this prevents that from happening. So anyway, I just wanted to explain that really quick in case that was confusing. So one reason that I really like the sponge over a brush is that I feel like when you use a beauty sponge, you're really pressing that product into your skin, as opposed to a brush. I feel like I'm just moving product around on top of my skin, but it doesn't really sink into my skin. So I really like the fact that I'm like pressing this down into my skin. I feel like it becomes like a second skin, and so that's one of the reasons that I really love using blending sponges. And then it's also really important to remember that even if you have a foundation that matches your skin tone, I always like to blend a little bit down onto my neck, because again, your neck and your face could still be slightly different colors due to the sun or, splotchiness or whatever it may be. So I like to take a little bit, and I like to just take it a little bit down onto my neck, right underneath my jawline, and just make sure that it's nice and blended. Okay, so that's half my face using that Beautifully Matte foundation, and I think you can tell it matches my neck really well. And I just love this foundation. The undertone to this foundation is definitely more of a neutral. It's not really on the warm side, and it's definitely not on the cool side. And I feel like it just matches my skin tone perfectly. So I really love it. And now I'm going to use the other foundation that Honestly, I'm not even sure why I bought this because this does not match my skin tone at all, and I don't know why I like did not return it and actually get my shade, but I didn't, and so now I'm stuck with this foundation that I can still get it to work if I mix it with, you know, a different foundation that is my skin tone. In fact, I mix these two together sometimes just because I like the finish of this one and I like the shade of this one, so if I mix them together then I can get it to work. But this foundation is cool toned, so I want you to see the difference. I'm going to use one pump again, and I'm going to go in on the other side and see if you can tell. Okay, so normally when I use this foundation and I'm doing it more in a natural sunlit area, this foundation looks like really pink on me, but for whatever reason right now I don't even notice a difference between the two, which is really strange. I feel like this side of my face, which I was thinking was gonna look pink, looks just fine, so that didn't really work out the way that I was hoping it would. Because I'm telling you, normally that foundation is like much too cool toned for my skin tone, but not today. The fact that I have a more neutral skin tone is probably the reason why this side doesn't look too crazy, but these two are definitely different shades. This one is definitely more of a neutral to warm undertone. This one's definitely more of a cool. So like I said, normally this one looks a lot more orangey, pinky on my skin than it does right now, which is just so crazy to me. That's so interesting, but okay. Okay, so maybe this will show you a little bit more what I'm talking about. So this one right here is going to be the Beautifully Matte, the one that matches more my skin tone. This is this foundation right here, and this one is going to be the other one. So yeah, so this one's definitely a lot darker on my wrist, and so you can tell that this isn't the right shade for my skin. So that's why it's like interesting to me that you can't really tell when it's on my face, or maybe it's just the camera. Maybe, well, no, not even in person. You really can't tell. But anyway, so I was hoping that you'd be able to see more of a difference so that you can see what I'm talking about when it comes to seeing it on my face. But I don't have any other foundations that don't match my skin tone at the moment because I don't buy them that don't match my skin tone, you know? So I think overall the most important thing to keep in mind when it comes to makeup is just to experiment, and some things that, you know, you think might work for you won't, and some things that you think won't work for you might. And you know, I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't just experiment and try new products and new things all the time, and so I just think that that's the most important thing to keep in mind. So that's all that I have for you today. I really hope that this video was helpful for you. I hope that you learned something from it, and if you have any questions about anything else or something that I forgot to cover, please feel free to ask me in the comments down below, and I will get back to you and I will help as much as I can. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so, and I'll see you next time. Bye!